evening and welcome to the 7 p.m. Beginners Yoga with Chris. I'm Chris and I'm happy to be here, and I'm going to start tonight in a seated position, and I'm sitting up on my bolster, on my pillow, my cushion, so that I can feel comfortable in my seated position. It elevates my hips a little bit and allows my knees to relax a little bit more towards the floor. So if you find yourself sitting and your knee cross-legged and your knees are up here, you might lift the hips up by sitting on a cushion or a block. And so ground your seat. So feel both sit bones heavy on the surface that you're sitting on. You could move a little bit from side to side, feeling your spine rising up, lengthening all the way up from the tailbone up through the crown of the head, letting your shoulders relax, and just doing your best to find a neutral spine and to find a comfortable, free and deep breathing. In and out through your nose. So we'll breathe in and out through our nose for most of the class, the best we can. So take a few breaths here. In this upright position, you might bring your hands to your lower ribs and kind of feel how the rib cage moves with the breath, expanding and contracting. And then bringing your hands back down, just take a couple more breaths. Noticing if you have any tension in your jaw that you can release. Also making sure that your head is balanced on top of the shoulders so there's no forward head, no strain in your neck or shoulders. And then you might start to make circles. So keeping your sit bones and your seat kind of heavy as you circle around, moving your upper body in one direction. Kind of going slowly, feeling your way through. And then you might switch the direction of the circles. So leaning over to one side and bringing yourself forward, circling around and back. And just one more time around through like that. Circling slowly back to center. And pause for a moment. Feeling your breath, just noticing the effects of that gentle movement. And then you might start to lean forward and then round back. So you're doing kind of like a little spinal undulation, letting your heart come forward and then rounding back. Kind of letting your head be along for the ride. And just one last time like that. Coming back to center. And then take your left hand, maybe bringing it down to the floor, reaching your right arm up. And feeling kind of grounded in the right sit bone as you reach up through the right fingertips. You could turn your palm towards the back of the room. Try to keep your head lifted so the neck stays long, so you're not pulling down hard on the neck with your head. Keep it long and soft and neutral. Breathing, and then come to the other side, bringing the right hand down, left arm up and over. You could look up under the arm. Feeling the stretch from the left sit bone all the way up through the fingertips of your left hand. And then maybe you could go side to side a couple times, moving your arms, kind of like you're just swaying back and forth, staying grounded in your seat. And then back to center. Pausing for a moment. And then let's bring the right hand to the left knee, coming into a gentle twist. Left hand comes back behind you. letting the shoulders release away from the ears, and then lift the arms up and over, bringing left hand to the right knee. Lifting up, lengthening up, spiraling up, and then back and forth a couple times like that with the arms. And back to center. If you're sitting up on something, you could take it out and set it off to the side. And we're going to come up to a standing position. So if you're using a mat, coming to the front of your mat and finding your standing mountain position. I'm just going to take my glasses off here. So feeling your feet on the floor and letting the arms hang. And just feel how the weight of your body is distributed over the soles of the feet. So feel some weight back in the heels. Maybe sway forward, bring the weight into the balls of the feet, and then back into the heels, forward and backward. And then you might feel for kind of a natural standing position. So there would be a little more weight in the heels. You can feel the arches of your feet kind of doming up in the center, spreading your toes. Then you might go side to side a little bit. Kind of feeling how you can bring your weight, body weight into one leg and the other. And then just bringing it to center so that you're not heavier on one side than the other. Sometimes we tend to stand more into one hip and one leg. So see if you can even that out. And then from here, let your arms hang. And you might start to twist a little bit. Just into this moving twist, letting your arms hang. They could kind of bump into the sides of your body, into the back and front. Maybe you're kind of looking back over one shoulder and the other. And then just slowly coming back to center. And letting the arms hang. Bringing your hands together at your heart. Pause for a moment, gently pressing your palms together. Again, feeling your standing mountain pose. We call this Tadasana. It's kind of our base pose. Letting the arms come up, lengthening up. You might bring your hands shoulder width, palms facing each other. See if you can kind of ground down through your tailbone, through your sacrum, and lengthen up, lifting up through pubic bone, lifting up through the crown of the head, softening your shoulders. You can feel how your shoulder blades can slide even as you're reaching. And then maybe a little bit of side-to-side swaying, letting your arms be kind of fluid. Grounding down through your feet, lengthening up. Coming back to center, inhale up, and come forward into a forward bend, long spine. You can bend your knees, lifting your tail, keeping your head and shoulders lifted. So you might have to walk your hands up. Sometimes it's nice to bring your elbows to right above the knees and kind of bend the knees and traction a little bit. Feeling length in the spine. Could also walk the hands down a little further if your body permits, folding forward at the hip. Breathing. And then from there, we'll step the left foot back, bringing the knee down. And coming up, bring your hands to your knee. Just bring your hands to the right knee, kind of resting the hands on the knee, letting the shoulders relax even as you're lifting your heart and lengthening up. Feeling some stretch in the front of the hip on the left side. Steady breath, in and out through the nose. You could gently close off the back of your throat to make a little sound. We call it Ujjayi breathing, or it's kind of loosely translated as breath of victory. Just staying focused on the breath. And then releasing your hands. Let's step back to hands and knees. Spreading your hands, bringing your shoulders over the wrists, and start to make circles with your hips. circling around in one direction. You could let your head go to the opposite side of the hips, kind of like in a serpentine or figure eight kind of movement. And then reverse the direction of the circles. Circling in the other direction. And coming back to center. And walk your knees back a little bit and reach forward through your arms, lengthening your spine, bringing forehead to the floor. You could rock a little bit with your head side to side, rolling over the forehead. And coming back to center. Walking your hands over towards the left, drawing the right hip back. Releasing your neck and your head. Maybe flipping the back of your right hand to the floor, opening the palm. And then walking hands over to the right. And breathing, feeling the breath. You could flip the back of your left palm to the floor, opening the back of your left hand, opening the palm. And releasing that and walking back to center. You could release your forearms down and slide forward, coming into Sphinx pose. So bringing your forearms to the floor, elbows just a little in front of the shoulders, and legs are pretty close together. Dragging your belly forward, pressing your pubic bone into the floor and tipping your tail back towards your heels. So you're taking some compression out of your spine that way, lifting the belly, finding your gaze here, breathing. And then you could bring your hands forward and bring the palms together, coming into a long prostration, bringing your forehead to the floor. Bending the elbows here. You could lift the head and press fingertips together and palms apart. Breathing into your belly, feeling the belly pressing into the floor with the inhale. And then release the hands. You could sweep the hands back. Maybe you just turn the thumbs up and open the chest, or maybe you clasp hands and just rock a little bit from side to side. Maybe you're going to roll over onto your left side, pinning your left shoulder underneath you, and just feeling the shoulder blades sliding down the back of the rib cage. And then rolling back onto your belly and over onto the right side. Excuse me. And then back onto your belly. And release your hands. Make a little shelf and just rock your hips side to side, breathing into the belly. And bringing hands under the shoulders, tucking your elbows in by your sides and pressing yourself up. Again, come through prayer pose for a moment. So you could kind of wrap the elbows in and feel some broadening happening in the middle of your back. And then come to your forearms. And with your hips lifted on your forearms, just sliding forward and backwards. So bringing the body weight forward and back. Kind of like you're coming into prayer with the forearms down, and then you're coming forward. And then tuck your toes and walk your hands back and stretch the bottoms of the feet a little bit. You could even rock a little bit from side to side, bringing weight over into one side and the other. You might feel that in the calves a bit and the backs of the bottoms of the feet. Untuck your toes and stretch your wrists, turning fingertips back, stretching your forearms. and your wrists, even your fingertips. If you lift the heel of your hand, you can kind of stretch fingertips and shake that out. And then here, this pose is called Hero Pose Virasana, just sitting back on your heels. Reach your arms open, lift the heart, and then bring your left elbow on top of right, wrapping forearms, bringing palms together. This is eagle. If that's too much, you can just bring yourself into this variation where your left arm is across the body. If you can wrap, then lift fingertips and elbows, letting shoulders slide. And then release your arms and open up again, just opening the chest and bringing your right elbow on top, wrapping the forearms, bringing palms together, lifting up. You can also just stretch like this, bringing your right arm across, sliding your shoulder blade down. Or eagle, Garudasana, arms, Garuda, the eagle. And release again, open the chest. Reach your hands back and clasp your hands. And come up onto your knees. Coming into a bit of camel pose here. So lifting your heart. Pressing your hips forward. And release that. Just release the arms. Come out of the back bend. Reach your arms forward. Palms facing down, kind of draw the shoulder blades back onto the rib cage, and then you could come back and forward a few times. So you're relying on the strength of your quads to help you move back and stop. So you might just do it a little ways back, or you might be adventurous and come back a little further. And release the arms. Coming to your hands and knees again. And this time let's do a little cat-cow. So rounding your spine, tucking your pelvis. Inhale, arch the spine, lift your tail, lift your head and shoulders. Exhale, round the spine. Inhale, lift. So just moving back and forth between the two. And then coming back to hands and knees to tabletop position. Let's reach the right foot back, tuck your toes, and rock a bit back into the heel, forward and back. So feeling your ankle joint moving, stretching a little bit into the back of the leg and the top of the bottom of the foot. And then lift the foot up, press back through the heel, reach forward with your left arm. So lengthening and reaching backwards and forwards, lifting belly away from the floor. You might lift the top of your left foot off the floor for a little more challenge. Tiger pose, or bird dog we call it. And release that. And circle the hips a bit. Coming back to center. Reach back through the left foot, tuck your toes, and press into the heel, rocking back. Stretching the bottom of the foot and the calf muscles. And then coming back to center, letting that foot come up, press back through the heel. Keeping the sacrum, the lower back, pretty level. Lifting belly, reaching forward through the right arm. Gazes forward. Find your breath. Lift the top of the right foot off the floor a little bit for a little more challenge. Feeling your core connected, and release it, and then circle the hips again. And then let's walk the knees back and come into prayer again, lifting the hips. And finding the breath, you could rock your forehead again, side to side. Let it feel good. And back to center. And then let's slide forward onto the belly again. Again, make a little shelf, rock the hips. And then let's lift. So keep your pelvis on the floor and lift the right leg, so the thigh off the floor. Try to relax your left leg, so you're using the muscles in the back of your right leg and your butt to lift that leg. Reaching back through your toes and release it. Rock your hips a bit. And we'll do the other side, so lift the thigh, the left thigh off the floor, relax the right side. Nice steady breath, breathing into your belly. And release that side and rock the hips. And then bend your right knee and try lifting that thigh up off the floor, pressing your heel up towards the ceiling. So you might be able to feel the hip bone pressing into the floor, or what we call the hip bone. Maybe pulsing the heel up a few times towards the ceiling. And release. Rock your hips. And we'll do the other side. So keep the left leg pretty relaxed. Bend your right leg relaxed. Bend your left knee. And lift the left thigh off the floor. And then press the heel up towards the ceiling, kind of pulsing it up a few times. And release, rocking hips. Let's sweep the arms back, clasp the hands at the sacrum, lift up, and also lift the tops of the feet, coming into locust pose. Feeling the muscles around the spine working, a little multifidi. And just breathing here, staying with it for a few more breaths. And release again, rocking hips, letting it go. And then let's roll onto the left side. And let's do a few outer hip movements here. So you could release your head to rest on your arm so that you're not cranking the neck, or you can rest it on your hand if that feels okay. Maybe take your right hand forward, just keeping your body straight up and down, bringing the knees forward, lifting the feet, and we'll open the knee. And then close the knee. Go slowly, so you're moving from the hip. You're not moving your torso, it's staying right where it is, straight up and down, hips are stacked. Trying to keep the neck from getting tweaked here, so you might release it down to the arm. Keep going, keeping the feet lifted, opening the knee all the way up and closing it 2 more times. Going slowly. So using your muscular effort rather than using momentum. And release. Just letting those muscles relax. Sometimes it helps to kind of give yourself a little massage. And then we're going to do that same thing and straighten the leg as part of it. So using your right hand to just find this neutral position so that you're square, hips are stacked. Lift the feet, open the right knee, and then straighten your right leg up. Press through the heel, close the feet, close the knee. Open the knee, straighten the leg up, slowly bring the feet back together and close the knees. Going slowly. We'll do this 5 times. So open the knee, straighten the leg, bring feet back together, knees back together. Open up the knee, all the way up, straighten the leg up. Soles of the feet together, knees together last time. Open the knee, straighten the leg up. Soles of the feet together, knees together. And then just roll onto your back, draw the knees in towards the chest, and rock a little bit from side to side, breathing into the back. And then we'll roll onto the right side. Again, being thoughtful about your neck, so coming onto your side, bringing left hand to the floor to support yourself, finding this kind of square position so your hips are stacked. You're not moving the torso, you're just opening the hips. So I'm going to relax my head and lift my feet and open the knees. Body stays still, but hip opens. Close the knees, open all the way up, close, just going slowly. Opening and closing, keeping your body still. A couple more times like this. And last time. And release for a moment. Just take a moment to rest. And then we'll do part 2. So setting yourself up, lifting the feet, opening the knee and straightening the leg up, feet back together, knees slowly back together. So don't use the force of gravity to help you. Use the muscular strength in your hips. Knees back together, open the knees, straighten leg up, feet back together, knees together. 2 more times, open the knee, straighten the leg up, feet together, knees together. Last one, open, straighten the leg, feet together, knees together. And then roll onto the back. And just let it go. Rocking a bit from side to side. Let's take the left foot to the floor. I'm just going to come into the camera a little bit closer. And just bring it down a little. So let's bring the left ankle on top of the right knee. And just give a stretch to these outer hip muscles. Lifting your right foot and rocking a bit, perhaps reaching back behind your right thigh and drawing that right knee in. Let your breath be really comfortable and balanced in and out through your nose. And release that right foot back to the floor. And then unwind that. Bring your left foot back to the floor. Bring your right ankle on top of your left knee. And reach back behind the left thigh. Pressing perhaps the elbow into the knee. And rocking a little bit from side to side. In this figure 4 stretch. And then unwind and draw the knees in. And let's take a strap and have that handy. We'll do some leg stretches here on our back. So taking your strap, hang on one sec, this is kind of crooked. I don't know if it matters, but it looks kind of weird. So coming back onto your back, and let's just have the strap handy, we will use it. But first, let's draw the right knee in towards the chest. And just kind of moving the knee side to side so you're feeling your hip moving. And then you might take your right hand on the knee and begin to circle in one direction. Just feeling your way through the movement of the hip. Maybe circling in the other direction. You can bring your left hand out to the side for counterbalance. You can also straighten your left leg if you want as you're doing this, or keep it bent. And then let's take the strap around the sole of the foot and bring the leg up. Flexing your foot. Again, you could straighten your left leg or keep the knee bent and the sole of the foot on the floor. So drawing the toes back towards the shin, letting the strap help you to relax your shoulders back. So using this as an extension of your arms. And then take the strap into the right hand and let your right foot come out to the side. You might let your left knee drop over towards the opposite side, left arm out to the opposite side for counterbalance. You can also straighten the left leg, either way. And then bring the leg back up and extend the left leg now, taking the strap into the left hand. Extending your right arm out to the side. And at first just bring the leg across, maybe keeping your right hip on the floor to begin with. And then let that leg come across. You might look back over your right shoulder. I'm using the strap and keeping my foot lifted, but you might bring your foot all the way to the floor. Just depends on what's comfortable for your body. And then bring that foot back up. Take the strap off. You could bend your left knee, the sole of your left foot on the floor. And begin to make circles with the right leg. So you have to have some engagement in the core to be able to make this movement, to stabilize you. And then switch the direction of those circles. You can make them as big as you want. Just kind of feeling your way through the movement. Keeping sacrum on the floor, shoulders are relaxed. Just moving the leg, moving the hip, the head of the femur bone around in the pelvis, otherwise known as the hip joint. Then bend your knee and drop back in towards the chest. And release the right foot down to the floor. And draw the left knee in. Just moving the knee a little bit, moving the leg, the hip. And then you might take your left hand on the knee and start to make circles. Circling your knee around in one direction. And switching the direction of the circles. And then take the strap underneath your foot on the left side, under the left foot, and let your shoulders relax, taking the strap. Maybe the right knee stays bent. You can also extend the right leg if you want. Flexing your foot, drawing the toes back towards the shin. Your tailbone staying on the floor, lower back pressing into the floor. So you're working from a neutral spine. Nice steady Ujjayi breathing. Taking the strap into the left hand, arm out to the right, your right arm out to the right. Let your right knee drop open as you open the left leg out. I'm getting too sleepy being here on my back on the floor. I'm going to have to come back up after this. And then bring your leg back up. Take the strap into the right hand. Left arm could go out to the side. You could straighten your right leg. And then bring your left leg across, keeping your hip on the floor still. And then letting that leg come over into the twist. Might come all the way down to the floor, or maybe you're holding it up. Maybe you're gazing back over your left shoulder. Nice, comfortable breathing. And bring that leg back up. Bending your right knee. Release the strap, setting it down to the side. Arms can just stay out to the sides. And now make some circles here with your left leg circling in one direction. And then back in the other direction. Slowly circling a hip around. And then draw the knee back in towards the chest. And the right knee in. And roll over onto your right side. If I stay on the floor, I'm going to fall asleep. I don't know why, but I'm very sleepy. So come back up. And what we're going to do is we're going to do those same poses, but we're going to do them using a countertop. Here we have a bar. If you're lucky enough to have a bar in your house, you could use that. Or just using the back of your sofa or a table like your dining room table. We're going to do the same series of stretches in a different orientation to gravity. Hopefully that won't tip over. So coming up to stand, let me see, I'm going to tip the camera up a little. I have no idea who's watching this, but I can see that somebody's watching. So come to stand, and let's stand first on the left leg and bring the right leg up onto the surface that you've chosen. Again, could be your dining room table if your family doesn't mind your foot being on it, or maybe on the back of your couch or a chair. But let's focus on the spine and the breath here, more than how deep into the stretch you can get. So this is the same thing we just did on our back with the strap, but we had the floor behind us to give us feedback about the position of our spine. So now we're kind of more floating in space, and we need to be able to find our neutral spine to work from. So you can kind of tip your tailbone back and tuck it under until you feel like you're in a neutral position. So there's that natural lumbar curve. And that's where you're working from. If you're coming forward, you're not rounding to come forward. You're staying with that neutral spine. Same thing with your upper back and your neck. You're not hunching forward just to get to your foot or anything like that. That cuts the breath off, and all of us are rounded in our daily life, so we're working on finding new ways and new habits to optimize our breathing and to take care of our spine and move ourselves through different positions to find new habits with our body. So feeling the stretch, working from this neutral spine. And then coming back up, taking a twist so you could reach your arms open. Your lower body is staying still and you're twisting in the upper body here. Again, breathing, finding your comfortable breath in and out through your nose. Letting the shoulder, the right shoulder blade slide down the back of the rib cage as your palms are facing open. And then just turning back to face yourself. And then here you might turn, I'm going to be facing away from you, but bring your foot forward. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it with the other side. Bring your foot forward in front of you onto that surface. And the toes of your standing foot, which would be your left foot, pointing straight forward. And then you could kind of rest the back of your arm on your leg, reaching up and over. So it's a side stretch, keeping the neck long so you're not compromising your neck with the weight of your head. And feeling this good stretch all the way up the left side of your body. And just another breath. And release it. And coming off of that surface that you're using, just resting your hands on it, drawing the hips back, coming into a forward bend. Keeping your head lifted, finding your breath. And then we'll come back up to stand, and this time we're going to lift the left leg up and rest our foot on that tabletop or countertop. And again, just arranging yourself. So hips will be pretty square, pretty level. Finding your breath. If you're coming forward, again, it's with this natural, neutral curve. Sometimes it helps to bring hands back. So feeling a big stretch up the back of the left leg. And breathing, letting your breath be important here, primary to everything else. If you stop breathing or you feel compromised in your breath, back off a little bit. And then coming back up, and we'll reach forward with the right arm. Palms are facing open, and back through the left arm, feeling the twist in the upper body. So really strong in the center of your body. Your standing leg is strong. And slowly releasing the twist, and then bringing the foot forward like we did on the other side. Bringing the left foot forward, toes of the right foot are pointing straight ahead, and coming into stretch up the right side of your body, breathing all the way from the sole of the foot up, lengthening the waistline, rib cage, all the way up through the fingertips. And releasing and stepping off of your table or whatever you're using, resting your hands there and drawing the hips back. Coming into this L shape. And then coming up. And one more thing using this surface. Come up to it and kind of square your hips to it and then turn so that the left side of your hip is snug against that surface. Your right foot is forward. And then you could rest your left hand, like let's say it's the back of the couch there, and reach back with your right hand, resting your right hand behind you. So you're coming into this twist. We call it the Egyptian twist. And the nice thing about the bar is you can actually grip it, but you can still do this using just resting your hands on that surface. Feel how your spine starts at the tip of the tailbone and kind of really goes all the way up through the crown of the head. So if your head is tipping forward or you're lifting your chin or distorting your neck in any way, see if you can bring it back to just a comfortable neutral position with your neck, which will also help your breath. And then release that and turn again, facing the surface and turning so that your right hip is snug up against it. Left foot forward, reaching back with your left hand and resting your hand there, looking back over the left shoulder, twisting in the upper body so the hips stay pretty much facing straight forward. And you're breathing. And release that twist and turn again, coming into a forward bend, resting hands on that surface, reaching back through your tailbone, lifting your tailbone, and releasing that. And then let's take one more stretch. Let's take your left arm back behind you, palm just a little lower than the shoulder. And then staying in this standing mountain pose, feeling a stretch in the front of the left shoulder. Feel your shoulder blades sliding. You could bend your left elbow a little bit. So it's into the arm. The stretch is into the arm and the front of the chest. And your breath is steady and comfortable. And then release it and turn, bringing the right hand down just a little bit below the shoulder, palm against the wall. And standing upright, staying with a neutral spine, letting the right shoulder blade slide as you open the front of the chest. Breathing. And releasing that. And then we'll move away from the wall or from the countertop. And I'm just going to turn this back. Now, if you have a tennis ball at home, take your tennis ball and let's use it under the sole of the foot. I'm just going to pick this up. off to the side. So taking your tennis ball, and we'll start with the ball of the foot and the toes, just pressing and releasing and kind of working our way around the sole of the foot. Down the outer edge of the foot into the arch of the foot. Tennis balls are nice for this, just taking your time, breaking up some fuzz in the bottom of your foot. Keep our feet supple and flexible, mobile. Coming down into the heel for a moment. This is good for also for working with plantar fasciitis, to just use the ball like this. And then back up the inner edge of the foot through the arch and into the ball of the foot, back up to where you started. Spreading your toes around the ball, and almost like you're going to pick it up with your toes. Don't forget to breathe and pay attention to your posture as you do this. And then we'll switch, bringing the toes of your left foot over the ball, pressing and releasing into the ball of the foot, and working your way down the outer edge into the arch of the foot. Just taking your time, breathing. Down into the heel. Back up the inner edge of the foot. And back up to the ball, spreading your toes as if you're going to pick the ball up. And then we'll just step off the ball. You can set it off to the side and feel your feet on the floor. Feel that kind of opened up the soles of the feet a little bit and made your feet more sensitive to the surface that you're standing on. Now, let's take the mat and roll it up tight. So we're going to make a burrito with the mat, make a roll. So roll it up really tight. And then we're going to come to kneel, bringing the mat back between the knees. So come to kneel and bring that right into the back of the knee. And you can sit up, sit back, bringing your hips back towards your heels. So you've got that mat right into the calves. It's pretty intense. And breathing. You could also bring your hands back behind you and kind of lean back. So you get a little stretch of the quads that way, but also you're really bringing that sensation of the mat pressing into the back of your knee and into the calf and the back of the thigh. And then coming up, you might reposition it a little bit. And maybe you're going to tuck your toes this time and come back, bringing heels back towards your, or hips back towards your heels, stretching the tops of the feet. If that hurts the toes, just untuck the toes. And take a couple of breaths. And then come out, take the mat out and set it in front of you, coming up to stand. And we'll bring the tops of the feet onto the mat and come into a forward bend, bending your knees. Feeling the effects of that, having that mat in there behind your knees.
And then stepping off the mat, you can just move it out of the way. Bringing your feet about hip width. And bending your knees a bit. You could clasp hands and just rock a little bit from side to side, letting your head relax. Or you could also bring your hands, bring your elbows up above your knees, kind of tractioning and lengthening your spine like that. And then make your way back up. And I'm going to set this out of the way. I'm going to come back up to the bar using a table like you were. I'm going to use the bar and just come up onto the balls of the feet. You might not need the counter for this, but it's nice to have something to stabilize yourself. So up onto the balls of the feet, kind of evening the weight of your body out over the whole ball of your foot. And then just up and down a few times. Let your heels come back down and lift up, down and up. Holding it up again, holding the heels up. Breathing. And then slowly back down. And then with hands on this surface, step your right foot back. Your feet will be hip width, and you can come into a forward bend, just resting hands there. Drawing your left hip back. This is pyramid pose. Might be a little easier after doing that, bringing that mat into the back of the legs. And breathing here. And then coming back up, and we'll step right foot forward, left foot back, hip width. Again, resting hands on that surface, lengthening back through both hips, especially lengthening through the right side of the torso. Big stretch for the back of the legs. And release it. And let's take our strap. We'll do a little bit of shoulder work with the strap, and then we'll make our way back to the floor. So take your strap and come to stand. Holding the strap a little wider than your shoulders, a little wider than the elbows with your elbows bent. And then we'll bring the strap up and over. So find the right spot, bringing some tension into the strap, allowing shoulder blades to come up and down as you bring your arms up and over with your elbows bent, keeping in this standing mountain pose, lifting up through the crown of the head. Next time the arms come up and back, you might pause there, opening the chest, breathing. Kind of broadening in between the shoulder blades. Don't forget to breathe. One more breath and release that. And then we'll just do a little bit of this kind of movement, bringing one elbow up and over and around. You can move your body a little bit or just keep it in the shoulder movement. Moving in one direction, circling around, and then we'll switch the direction of those circles. And get a little side stretch in. And release that, and we'll set the strap down. And then we're going to take our ball, our bigger ball. So we use these basketballs, these small basketballs. Hopefully you have one handy. So bringing the ball underneath your upper back and bringing your hands back behind your head to support your head. Lifting the hips. You can come into like a bridge pose with the ball in your upper back. Take a couple breaths there, just feeling the ball pressing the shoulder blades back down, away from the ears. You might do a little rolling into the spine, into the different parts of your back. Maybe a little side to side, and moving around the shoulder blades, to the side of your torso. Making sure you get both sides, kind of into your lats and around the shoulder blade. And bringing it down a little further to the middle of the back. And then maybe lifting up your hips and bringing your upper body back to the floor and bringing it underneath your sacrum and your lower back, lifting knees and rolling from side to side there. And drawing the knees in towards the chest. Bring the legs up. So bring the ball right underneath your sacrum, finding the right spot for it. And your legs are straight up, arms out to the sides, pressing your tailbone into the ball. Toes slightly turned out, flexing your feet. Inhale your right heel down towards the floor slowly. Pause. Press tailbone into the ball and lift the leg back up. Inhale, left heel down, pressing tailbone into the ball, lengthening your belly. Pause with the leg extended, press tailbone into the ball, exhale, back up. And moving like that at your own pace, bringing right heel down, inhaling, exhaling, back up, left leg. And just moving slowly. And then draw the knees into the chest. And take a couple breaths. And then let's try it with both legs. If that's too much for you, you can go back to one leg at a time. So both legs straight up, toes slightly turned out, arms out to the sides. Inhale, heels down towards the floor. Extending your legs, press tailbone into the ball and exhale back up. Inhale down, press tailbone into the ball, exhale back up. And just going like that, slowly. Couple more times. Inhale down, press your tailbone into the ball, exhale back up. The next time you bring your legs out, just hold them out. Trying to keep the belly from popping up, breathing. And then letting the feet come down to the floor and draping over the ball like this. Feeling openness in the front of the hips and the rib cage. Breathing. You might bend your right knee, bring the sole of your right foot to the floor, draw the left knee in. Maybe you can extend the right leg. And then release the left foot to the floor, draw the right knee in. Maybe you can extend the left leg. Pressing that tailbone into the ball as you lengthen, straighten the leg. And release it, draw both knees in. Maybe coming into a happy baby pose here with the ball underneath you.
And release that, take the ball out. Actually, we're gonna stay with the ball, but come up to sit on the ball. So bring the ball underneath your outer hip, say on the right side. And so I like to be up on my hands like this. You can also lay back, bring your upper body back to the floor. If you have your hands on the floor like this, it's a little easier to control the movement, and also you can control if you're putting all of your weight into the ball. So you'll feel there's a spot there. You'll feel your outer hip muscles, the rotators. And for me right now, this is very sensational. I'm not even sure why. So I'm breathing. It's not the bad kind of pain. It's just like muscle soreness. And so it feels good, but it's also kind of like, it's intense. Not sure why. You might also bring the ball up above, in between kind of the rib cage and the pelvis. There's that spot there. Maybe draping over the ball there and kind of rolling into that area. And then you could just roll across to the other side. We'll start there, kind of draping over on the left side, in between the pelvis and the rib cage, feeling the ball in those muscles. I might say quadratus lumborum. Kind of into the top of the glutes. And then we'll come back into the rotators on the other side, on the left side. Once again, for me, very sensational this evening, so I'm just breathing and staying with it. Couple more breaths there. And just coming off the ball. And then let's take the ball and we'll come into kind of like prayer pose, bringing the forehead to the ball, or like child's pose kind of. And rolling over your forehead into the temples, over the eyebrows, smoothing out all those wrinkles in the forehead. Just feeling all those muscles around your skull. You might really feel some tension in the temples, like I do. And then picking that ball up, you could also try getting into your jaw a little bit, and the cheek, and then on the other side. And then into the area like your sternum, kind of moving across just right under the collarbone but above the breast tissue, kind of going there on the pecs from side to side, maybe even bringing it into the shoulder. And coming off of that and keeping the ball there, bringing it back behind your head, coming onto your back, resting your head back on the ball, and turning your head from side to side. Feeling into those muscles on the back of the skull and the neck.
resting. And then we'll take the ball out and set it off to the side. Drawing your right knee in towards your chest, coming into this deep fold at the front of the hip. And then taking the knee across, coming into a twist. You could look back over the right shoulder. Letting your breath come back to its own natural rhythm. Releasing your body to gravity. And then back onto your back, extending your right leg, drawing left knee in. And taking it across, coming into the twist. Nice, comfortable, natural breathing. And making your way back onto your back. You might bring the soles of your feet together, coming into this reclined, bound to angle position, bringing hands up to clasp elbows or just bending your elbows. Taking a couple breaths there in this restful position. And then extending arms and legs, coming into your final resting pose. And I'm going to come into a seated position. Just staying there for a few moments in our final resting pose, which we call Shavasana, which means corpse pose. So, allowing yourself to have this resting time after your practice to observe the sensations in your body, your mind, having a meditative moment. So allowing your body to relax back, supported by the earth, feeling the force of gravity, which is cradling you and supporting you. It's like the earth is welcoming you to relax. Feeling the breath, but now the breath is very soft and comfortable, natural, probably quite shallow. I'm feeling the rise and fall of the chest with the breath and the movement of your belly, the gentle movement of your belly. Feeling the breath coming in through your nose and out through your nose. Relaxing your head and neck, so feel how heavy your head is against the floor, and how you can soften the eyelids, and the eyeballs settling back into your skull. The skin of your forehead is softening, cheeks, tongue relaxed. Opening the front of the chest, feeling it softening, and you can feel your heart beating gently. You may have your eyes closed so that there's no visual stimulation, but you can still hear the noises. Here in the Hatha Yoga Center, you can hear the cars on the street and the people on the street, little sounds of the building, the sound of your own breath. Seeing if you can kind of do a quick check through your body and notice if there's anywhere that feels resistant. And see if you can soften any resistance that's come up or that lingers from your practice. Just taking a few more breaths here. Feeling the effects of your practice integrating.
kind of taking things with you that you feel benefited you from your practice this evening, and letting the parts of it that didn't, just letting them go. And you might roll onto your side now and come back up to your seated position, finding your self in this upright position, perhaps coming back to sit on your cushion as you did at the beginning, grounding yourself, feeling length up your spine, up through the crown of the head, and taking a few breaths here, in and out through the nose, staying with this very relaxed jaw and shoulders. And then you might bring your hands together at your heart, just bowing your head to your own practice, to your own inner teacher, your higher self, or your higher power. Namaste, and thank you for joining in, and thank you for your support of the Hatha Yoga Center, keeping us going during these pandemic times. We appreciate you. Namaste.